everyone, my name's Ian. I'm 23 years old, I have a job and a girl I love. However, my life hasn't always been so peaceful and happy. It all started the day I was born. One day, a sunny July morning, I was born. My parents were flying high above the sky. Nevertheless, their happiness ended when the doctor said I was an extraordinary boy. They discovered a tail at my birth. My parents were told I was a mutant. Everyone was shocked, because no one in our family had ever been born with such a defect before, and it was believed that the human race lost its tails in ancient times. But that's what I was. My tail looked like a 15-centimeter sprout and was covered with ordinary human skin. When I was a kid, I didn't even realize how frustrating it was to have a tail. My tail would rejoice with me, wagging like a puppy's tail when I started playing tag with the kids. When I started attending kindergarten, my parents would put on special clothes to hide it. That's how I grew up. At school, I could no longer hide my tail because there was no clothing that could do it. Even so, I had a special pocket in my pants where I put my tail. My parents often took me to examinations, but there were no tail removal specialists in our small town. They'd say, "The boy's perfectly healthy. Is his tail bothering him or what?" Since I was a very agile and athletic boy, I attended sports classes, and in the heat of excitement, the tail would start moving like an animal's. That's the reason I've been mocked since I was a child. I even liked the special treatment I had. Guys often laughed when it was amusingly moving, and I managed to score goals or beat them. That's why I've always been the leader in sports. In general, it brought me laughter and joy. However, when puberty began, there was nothing to laugh about. Boys found themselves cool girls. They dated them, they loved, quarreled, cut their veins, fought, and laid out their names with flowers on the school square. In a word, we were filled with these damn youth hormones. You'd think I was calm. No way. I was triply crazy because I had 3 people's health. Although I tried to look calmer, dress in fashion, have a fancy hairdo, but there was a volcano inside me. In addition, from time to time I unwittingly looked at girls. I was 14 years old. When I smiled at them or made romantic gestures, they'd shrink from me and try to run away. I'd get hurt from that attitude. After all, even any nerd at a school had a female friend, and I was only called when it was necessary to carry weights or defend the honor of the school at sports competitions. I'm also a human being and was capable of strong feelings. Moreover, they weren't in demand. I took out all the unspent energy of love on sports. I played harder, ran faster, beat stronger. My parents felt it and took me for another medical checkup once to find out if the tail could be removed. This time we went to the capital city to see strong specialists. There I underwent a bunch of tests and made an MRI. The doctors held an extended case conference. As a result, a very smart professor said that it was impossible to remove the tail, even not suggested at all, because there's a very powerful spinal cord center in my tail. Therefore, the tail was second to the brain in importance, and its removal would lead to disability or even death. On top of that, they were also surprised at my powerful immunity, which was due to the tail. I was attached to this research institute for free to study me for the benefit of science. It didn't matter to me. I dreamed of being just an ordinary guy to be friends with some girl. At school, my life was boring, without joy. It was just study, sports, and the lives of others were filled with romance and love stories. However, that's what school is all about, so that all kinds of accidents happen. One day, my whole class went on a picnic. Thankfully, the city of Victorville stood next to the Sierra Nevada mountains. We picked a lawn, set up tents, the boys went to pick firewood, and the girls went to pick flowers. It was spring. Suddenly, we heard the girls screaming. I immediately rushed in that direction. I saw the girls running towards us from afar. They were pointing their hands and shouting the name Katharina. Katharina! There's Katharina! I ran through the trees and saw a huge deer trampling and poking my classmate. I threw myself all over the deer and pushed it, but it didn't even move. It was such a big male, weighing 500 pounds. My nose was hit by a sharp, stinking smell from the buck. Poor Katharina was sitting with her knees bent, hiding her face with her hands. But the deer had managed to poke her a couple of times that the jacket was all torn. She didn't even shout. That view made my blood leap. Some sort of rage appeared in me. I jumped on his neck, grabbed his branching horns with my 2 hands, and started to twist with all my strength. What a powerful animal it was! What a strong neck! But I was a bit of a lad too. I furiously wrestled with it. It turned out I was even growling and shouting. That's what my classmates told me later. They also came running, but they stood far away, afraid to approach. Our teacher managed to drag Katharina away. Now, we were one-on-one with a wild animal. I don't remember how long our confrontation lasted, but I thought it was an eternity. Then everything became quiet. I heard my growling and the hoarse breathing of the deer. We were lying on the grass. My hands were numb, his head was pressed to the ground, and everybody froze. Then the teacher chased all the pupils away and started shouting to me, "Let him go and run to me. I have a stick, I'll drive him away." I came to myself and saw the sky, the edge of the forest, the frightened and wild eyes of the stag close. I loosened my fingers and bounced off of it with a tumble. The deer, having felt freedom, got up on his feet with a single jerk. Yeah, it was a huge buck. He stood on his feet, spread wide a little bit, and raised his head majestically. There were steam clubs coming out of his nose. It felt like his hormones were beating over the edge, too. What a beautiful deer. At this point, the teacher shouted loudly and swung the stick. The deer twitched, then darted into the woods and disappeared. There was a lot of discussion at the school about this incident, and my fame spread about the city outside of the state. Katharina's parents came to thank me. I honestly felt like some kind of hero, some kind of a mighty Tarzan. I wanted to run and run through mountains and forests. I felt a huge power in me. The reason for my brave confrontation with a wild animal was my tail, filled with unusual energy. After this incident, everyone in town started treating me with respect, no longer joking about my tail. Honestly, I didn't care anymore. One day, during a lesson, the principal walked into our class and called me. It turned out that a journalist from another state had arrived to make a film about me and my tail. When I came out into the hallway, I saw a girl almost my age. At that moment, there was a powerful discharge of electricity between us. I couldn't breathe. The director, having quickly introduced us, hastened to business. We looked at each other for a long time, and as if we were talking telepathically, I knew for sure that she was the girl. That's how it turned out. Jennifer came to meet me on purpose. Because she has a 10 centimeters tail and she is the champion of her state and eco challenge. Eventually, we became boyfriend and girlfriend. We work at the state's National Reserve and we watch animals. Friends, tell me, have you ever had a case of you opposing a wild animal? Or an evil dog or an aggressive ram on a farm? If you enjoyed this video, please like and write a comment.
Hey everyone! I'm, the same Ray who almost got killed by the whole town. Yeah, that was a tough story. In the beginning, we got into a challenge out of boredom. Then we had to prove that we weren't weak. My friend Steve came to school with a black eye from his dad the very second day. He told him the truth right in the face. What a bore he was, how weird he was dressing, how bad his breath smelled, and how bad his taste in women was. And he earned a black eye. In a fit of truth-loving, he forgot that Dad's woman is his mother. Senior pupils laughed at Steve for a long time. I blew the last challenge first, so I had to win at any cost. This is my chance. My first day went well, and then a harsh thing happened. In algebra class, the teacher praised me for getting a 4 in a test. I confessed that Liz let me cheat from her, so we both got the lowest grade. Liz cried all day. Then Mrs. Smith came to school to see her husband, who was our gym teacher. I told her that Mr. Smith and the intern had locked themselves in the locker room and ran away from class. The next day, Mr. Smith caught me in the corridor and almost strangled me. Everybody saw me fighting with my gym teacher, how he strangled me. Senior pupils followed me around to witness something awesome. Oh my God, it was stroking my ego. They asked me all kinds of stuff on purpose, like, "What do you think? Is Susie really the prom queen?" I said she has glued eyelashes, puffy lips, and in her jeans, she looks like a Bavarian sausage. Susie beat me with a bag, so I didn't avoid a black eye either. It was cool to tell only the truth. I started running into questions on purpose. So one day, the founder, Mr. Rochelle, he was the sponsor of the school, came to the school. So I spent a whole hour telling all the shenanigans of our teachers and the principal. At lunchtime, we don't get enough tuna, and the gym is being rented out to the sectarians. Under the guise of education, we were forced to clean the snow. And using the money for cleaning, probably the director sent his daughter to study at an expensive college. Mr. Sponsor's hair stood up out of anger. So I finished him off with the next truth. I overheard the principal talking to the manager once. They were laughing at Mr. Rochelle. The director said, "We need to bring the children from the orphanage to a concert so that this donkey Rochelle tears and throws more money." What happened at school then? The whole town was going crazy. Me and my parents were called to the police twice and the principal was sent to jail. My parents locked me up at home and wouldn't let anyone in. There were reporters on duty outside the house all the time. I managed to tell them one more story. One night, I saw a car hit a homeless man crossing the road. The driver hurriedly pushed the victim into the cabin with a friend and drove away. I memorized the number of a car, FFR 115, Vermont. Oh my God, it turned out to be our mayor's car, and beside him was a crime lord. Parents weren't hoping it would work out anymore. They asked me the reason of my love of truth. When they found out, they brought in the senior pupils, who were really excited and openly admired me. But under pressure from my parents, they tried to convince me to stop the challenge. It was the 7th day already. I sat in the corner and thought long and hard. Is it forbidden to tell the truth in this world? It is fraught with terrible consequences. What about the words, you shouldn't lie or deceive? Then what? It turns out that our world hinges on lies? No, of course. I wasn't thinking so deep at the time. I was only 12 years old. But I was thinking more or less in that way. Recalling how many lives I'd ruined with my truth, I decided to give up. Besides, my mother cried all the time. She was afraid of me because most of the city turned against me. The mayor was put in jail. Crime lord went on the run. When the challenge was over, the city celebrated it quietly, everyone at their home. However, my life has changed after all. When somewhere some dispute arose, they called me. And I told the truth, only the truth, and I resolved the dispute. Those of you who liked my story, click the like button, write a comment, and subscribe. And the last thing, be careful with the truth.